didn't know what to do with him. I just buried him.
He vanished like a ghost. A father, a friend, a husband, gone without a trace, while his wife smiled in photos and told stories of fights and separations. To most, Laurie Shaver was just a woman trying to move on after a troubled marriage, but behind her performative grief, there was too much silence, too many questions, and a backyard hiding secrets long buried. When Michael Shaver disappeared in 2015, life around him went on as if nothing had happened. Laurie never filed a missing person report. No search was conducted, no public tears. Just a life that carried on as if Michael had never existed. For years, Laurie claimed he had simply walked away. But the truth, muffled beneath concrete and lies, began to surface when someone dared to ask, what if he never left at all? Today, you'll hear one of Florida's most haunting cases, where absence spoke louder than screams, where time didn't heal but revealed, and where a wife silenced the truth for years, until the ground itself gave her away. Before we dive in, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and comment below. Do you believe Laurie acted alone? Michael Shaver was one of those people everyone seemed to like. A locomotive mechanic, passionate about trains and simple living. He balanced technical work with being a devoted father. Living in Clermont, Florida, he was known by neighbors as quiet but helpful. His colleagues admired his work ethic and loyalty. Away from work, Michael was a man searching for calm. At home, that wasn't always possible. His marriage to Laurie Shaver was tumultuous, with frequent arguments that visibly wore him down. He rarely spoke ill of her, but quietly admitted to a few close friends how trapped he felt in the relationship. Despite the turmoil, he tried to hold his family together. He had young children and all he wanted was to see them grow up. His circle of friends was small, but loyal. He was often seen grilling with neighbors, or fixing things around the community. There was a gentle melancholy in the way he looked at life, like someone hoping tomorrow would be easier. Michael dreamed of starting over. Friends recalled that he had considered leaving Laurie, but feared the fallout. Something in him seemed to sense that walking away might come at too high a cost. Still, in the months leading to his disappearance, he quietly started to plan his exit. He took notes, spoke with a lawyer, and told a colleague that things were about to change. But Michael never got the chance to change anything. In February 2015, he vanished without a word. He stopped answering calls, didn't show up for work and never replied to messages. His phone went silent, and his presence evaporated. And strangest of all, Laurie didn't seem the least bit concerned. February 2015. The Shaver home, nestled in a quiet part of Florida, was heavy with tension. The conflict between Laurie and Michael had escalated to its breaking point. Later reports would reveal constant arguments, almost daily. Michael had been seen sleeping on the couch, and neighbors recalled muffled shouting at night. But that month, something shifted. Laurie seemed calmer, like someone who had made a decision. Reconstructed years later, the most plausible timeline shows that Michael was murdered inside his own home, likely following an argument, possibly about ending the marriage for good. He wanted to leave, to begin anew. Laurie wouldn't allow it. What happened next was brutal. She allegedly shot him with a .22 caliber firearm, a small quiet gun, easily concealed, but deadly at close range. Michael was likely shot in the back, either as he turned to leave, or while trying to de-escalate the situation. No emergency call was made. No cry for help. Laurie stood in the aftermath of her crime, staring at the body of the man she had once built a life with. She didn't run. She didn't panic. She acted. Rather than calling the authorities, Laurie moved into cover-up mode. She dragged Michael's body into the backyard, toward an area that had been previously used for bonfires. There she dug. Whether alone or with help remains unclear. The hole was deep, deep enough to conceal her darkest secret. In the days that followed, Laurie lived as though nothing had happened. She told some that Michael had left, Others heard he'd run off with another woman. At no point did she file a missing person report. Instead, she continued using social media, kept the kids at home, and even, according to investigators, responded to messages pretending to be Michael, maintaining the illusion that he was still alive. On the surface, life went on, but under the concrete, Laurie later pored over that backyard grave. The truth was already beginning to rot, both figuratively and literally. Laurie Shaver didn't just bury a body, she built over it. In the days after the murder, she transformed her backyard into a crime scene sealed under cement. She had concrete poured, not as part of any visible home project, but over the precise area where Michael's body lay. It wasn't a sloppy attempt. It was deliberate, measured, cold. As if she believed that by covering the earth, she could also suffocate the truth. Years later, she would claim it was for a patio or a barbecue space, but neighbors confirmed. The construction only began after Michael disappeared. A freshly laid concrete slab in an area that had no apparent purpose. Laurie lived above it like it was nothing, but it was everything. The lie began to unravel in 2018, 3 years after Michael vanished. And it wasn't Laurie who raised the alarm. It was one of Michael's friends who couldn't let go of the gut feeling that something was wrong. Michael wouldn't just leave. He wouldn't abandon his children. A missing person report was finally filed, and when police showed up, red flags appeared immediately. Laurie claimed Michael had walked out. Later, she suggested he overdosed. Then she said he went to live with someone else. Her stories didn't match, and her demeanor was disturbingly calm. When detectives looked around the house, something caught their eye. A section of new concrete in the backyard. Isolated, clean, out of place. She told them it was for a grill area, but there was no grill. No outdoor furniture, just a slab. With a warrant in hand, investigators began to dig, and beneath the cement, in the soil, they found human remains, bone fragments, charred clothing, and a skull with clear evidence of trauma. Michael Shaver had never left. He had been there all along, buried in silence, beneath the very ground Laurie called home. The discovery of Michael Shaver's remains marked the collapse of the lie. Laurie had kept alive for 3 years. When forensic teams broke through the concrete, they uncovered charred bones and a partially destroyed skull, evidence that someone had tried to burn the body before burying it. Bits of clothing were found mixed with soil, and even after years underground, the stench lingered. The community was stunned. Many had known Michael, few had ever really known Laurie. That she had lived normally above her husband's grave, raising her children, shopping for groceries, smiling at neighbors, was chilling. That someone could hold on to such a secret for so long, and with such composure, seemed more like fiction than real life. After the body was discovered, Laurie didn't confess. Instead, she denied involvement, claiming Michael may have died of an overdose, and that she simply didn't know what to do. But her version collapsed under the weight of the evidence. The gunshot wound, the burial, the concrete, and years of deceit, all pointed to one conclusion: intent. Laurie was arrested, but not immediately. In 2018, she was questioned and released. It wasn't until 2020, after prosecutors built a more complete case, that she was formally charged with second-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and obstruction of justice. For Michael's family and children, the revelation was devastating. Not only had they lost him, they had lived for years in a limbo of uncertainty and false hope, only to find out he had been beneath their feet the whole time. The woman who once claimed to love him had been the one to ensure he disappeared permanently. Laurie Shaver's arrest in 2020 launched a long and painful journey through the justice system. The trial was tense and highly publicized, filled with questions about her mental state and the true motive behind the murder. But one thing was clear: she had maintained a facade for years, pretending her husband had simply walked away, while hiding the truth beneath layers of silence and cement. During the trial, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence: text messages with a possible lover, contradictions in Laurie's statements, documentation of the concrete project, and forensic analysis linking the remains to a gunshot wound, all reinforcing the narrative of a calculated killing. Her defense argued that Laurie had suffered a breakdown, claiming the act wasn't premeditated but driven by psychological distress. They painted her as overwhelmed, broken. But the facts, the precision of the burial, the attempt to burn the body, the years of impersonation told another story. A story of control, of intentional disappearance. Laurie was ultimately convicted of second-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and obstruction of justice. She received a decades-long prison sentence, and is currently incarcerated in a Florida state facility. Though appeals and sentence reviews have been requested, none have overturned her conviction to date. For Michael's loved ones, the verdict offered some form of peace. They watched every step of the legal process, mourning not just the man they lost, but the years they were robbed of knowing the truth. In the end, Laurie's silence couldn't last forever, and justice, though delayed, was not denied. The story of Michael Shaver isn't just the story of a man murdered. It's the story of silence, forced upon a family, of truth, buried under lies, and of justice that took years to surface. While Laurie walked above the concrete, Michael's memory was being slowly erased. There were no public prayers, no funerals, no mourning, just a forced absence, and yet the truth endured. Buried, burned, silenced, but not dead. Michael returned, not in life, but with a voice. Every bone fragment, every contradiction, every inch of that cold slab helped reconstruct a scream that had been cut short. The case of Laurie Shaver is a chilling reminder that danger doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it sleeps beside you, smiles at you, calls itself your wife. But it's also a powerful testament to the fact that the truth may be delayed, but it cannot stay buried forever. If this story moved you, like the video, share it with someone, and subscribe to the channel for more real crime cases like this. And in the comments, tell us, do you think Laurie acted alone, or was someone else hiding in the silence?